Okay, next up is Genesis chapter 33.
And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the 2 handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. And he passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother.
So as this chapter begins now, here's Jacob and his family. They've been headed in the direction of Esau, and now there he is, right? So for 20 years, there's his brother Esau with the 400 men, okay? So again, 400 men would be a large company, right? It looks like an army, right? And so, again, not knowing what's going to happen, it says that Jacob arranged the family in a certain order. It says, he divided the children into Leah, Rachel, the 2 handmaids. Okay, he was doing it, by their mothers and arranged them. I mean, it sounds like more or less in age order. They're putting like Rachel and Joseph in the back. And Joseph would have been the youngest, right? Although it could also be argued that they were also his favorites. So maybe he was let me protect them. I'll put them in the furthest back. But for whatever reason, right? Probably mostly because of the age that they did it in this order, because the children of Leah would have been, a good bit older by now, so that they would be able to stand in the front, right? So it just says he arranged them that way, all right, and now he's ready to approach Esau. It says, bowed himself to the ground 7 times, so he came near to his brother, because again, he's ready to, he understands that what he did would have angered his brother, and obviously he doesn't want to be killed or have any of his family killed, so he's wanting to make peace here, so he's coming in with that kind of attitude to be ready to apologize or repent of what he had done there.
And Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw the women and the children, and said, Who are those with thee? And he said, The children which God hath graciously given thy servant. Then the handmaidens came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also with her children came near, and bowed themselves. And after Joseph came near, and Rachel, and they bowed themselves.
The meeting is a good one, all right? As you can see, it says in 4, it says Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him, basically taking that position. My brother I haven't seen in 20 years, all right? So he's ready to let bygones be bygones, and just, he came and embraced him and was happy to see him, which I'm sure was a great relief to Jacob, all right? And so upon doing that, and now, again, I'm sure it was a very emotional moment, and, crying and so forth, and now he's looking around and saying, well, who are these, right? Who are these women and children and whatever, because he's never met them, right? The last time he saw Jacob, it was just him, and now he's got a whole company here with him, and so then he introduces them, these are my wife, my children, and so, these are your nephews here, your niece, so he's introducing them to him, right? So, again, kind of a funny thing, but, not having been 20 years, obviously a lot has changed, and so all these children have been born during that time, so now he's meeting really a whole part of his family here that we had never known, didn't even know they existed, right? And until now he's reunited with Jacob, and he's able to see this whole family that's come from him.
And he said, What meanest thou by all this drove which I met? And he said, These are to find grace in the sight of my Lord. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother, keep that thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, Nay, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. For therefore I have seen thy face, as though I had seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because God hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it.
Okay, so after having met the family, all right, and now, of course, the day before he received all these herds of animals and stuff, so he said, well, why did all these animals here yesterday? And so he said, it was a gift, all right? And he's not going to necessarily say, I was afraid you were going to kill me, all right? But he's saying that it's a gift for you, all right? So in 8 says, these are to find grace in the sight of my Lord, right? But Esau says, I got enough animals, I don't need more, I got a whole herds of animals myself, so I don't really need you to be giving me animals. Keep them yourself, I don't have to give them to me. But Jacob insists. He says, no, I want you to have it. All right, and in 10, okay, he says, therefore I have seen thy face as though I had seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. Right? That's kind of the key statement. He'd been praying about this the whole time, and what was going to happen when he saw Esau for the first time. Was he going to be angry with him? Was he going to want to kill him? Right? And he's likening it to seeing the face of God, to say, well, maybe if you don't know, you've done something wrong, you're afraid God is going to frown when you see him, right? So he was worried, and now he's seen the face of his brother, and it was accepting. So he's like, this is great. He's happy, and he's overjoyed. So basically, he would please keep the animals, right? Because I want you to have them, because I'm so happy that we're able to come back together now and be reunited this way, right? When I had no idea how you were going to accept me, but now I see that you've been accepting, so I would really prefer that you keep these animals that I gave you as a gift. So 11, he kind of insists, and so at the end of 11 says he urged him, and he took it, right? So he did accept the gift finally, even though he probably didn't need any more animals, but it was the gift that was given to him, and so he accepted it in that way.
And he said, let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee. And he said unto him, my Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and herds with young are with me, and if men should overdrive them one day, all the flock will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly, according as the cattle that goeth before me and the children be able to endure, until I come unto my Lord unto Seir.
Right, so Esau says, well, come on now, let's, why don't you come to where I live. Right, and it was still going to be a little bit of a journey, right? And remember, he's got these 400 men that's come with him, so he's saying, come with me, come up to where I live. Right. Now it says that Jacob was a little hesitant to take him up on this. You can remember now that after 20 years they've just been reunited, all right? And yes, we had a very touching moment here. We embraced, and everything is good. But now, do I really want to just kind of go with him with his army there and so forth? He could be marching us off to kill us all, all right? So let's just take this one step at a time, all right? So that's why he says, so instead he says unto him in 13, he says, well, my Lord, in other words, you can see that my children they're little here. They're tender. I got flocks and herds that are pretty young too. We're not going to be able to keep up with you, all right? So he says, if the men should overdrive the flock, and we're trying to make them go too fast, they could die. So you just go ahead. You just go ahead, and we'll bring up the rear, and we'll get there when we get there. Is really what he's saying. So don't wait on us. We're not going to travel with you. You just go back to your home, and we'll be there when we get there. All right, is really what he's saying. And in 14 it says. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant. I'll lead on softly. In other words, I'll take my time with my group. All right, and according as the cattle and then the children are able to go until I get to where you live. All right, so don't wait for us. You just go ahead, and we'll take our time. And then when we get there, then you'll see us there.
And Esau said, let me now leave with thee some of the folk that are with me. And he said, what needeth it? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir, and Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built him a house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth.
So when Jacob says, well, we can't keep up with you, so you go ahead. So Esau says, all right, well, how about if I leave some of my men to escort you? All right, that's what he's offering in 15. It says, let me leave with thee some of the folk that are with me. All right, I'll leave some of my men to escort you to where I live. But Jacob says, we don't need that. So he says, let me find grace inside my Lord. In other words, let's just go at our own pace. We don't need your soldiers to escort us. We'll just find our own way there. So you just go ahead, and like I said, we'll make our own way there. So finally he convinced them. It says Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. But it says Jacob journeyed to a different place, right? He didn't go to where Esau lived. It says he went to this place that they're going to call Succoth, right? And built his own house and so forth. So this was where he was going to settle, right? So he didn't see any reason to, I guess, walk right into the mouth of the lair of the wolves here, so to speak, right? He says, all right, well, this was good that we reunited. We got to see each other again, but you go there, and I'm just going to establish my own house over here. So, like I said, I'm totally ready to jump right in and with both feet.
And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Paddan Aram, and pitched his tent before the city. And he bought a parcel of a field where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar and called it El Elohi Israel.
It says he's now arrived at the place. It says he's pitched his tent. He's buying a parcel of land. Right, and notice this is in the land of Canaan. Right, and the land of Canaan is the promised land that was promised to their family. So he's going to settle in this particular part of the land. Right, and purchased it for 100 pieces of money and erects an altar. Right, thereby that he might worship God there. All right, and so really the name that's there, I believe, means the God of Israel. All right, is really what it is. All right, so he's accepted God as his own God, and remember he changed his name to Israel, so now I'm going to refer to the God as the God of Israel. And actually, even throughout the rest of the Old Testament, there's times when there were other people's gods, so to speak, and they said, well, do you want to serve this God, who's really a pretend God, or the God of Israel? Right? And so the God of Israel, of course, is the real God of the Bible, and so that would be the right answer, that you want to serve the God of Israel.